In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to calculate z-scores. Z-scores are a popular tool used by quants to determine potentially valuable entrance and exit points based on moving average prices. So to do this, we're going to start out by, we need a file from our advanced shared nodes. I'm going to click this. And this will take us to our shared folder. Let's get the z-score JSON file. I've downloaded the other files we need already, so I'm going to create a new tab, and I'll bring in, we start out by using the market open node. So almost every flow you write, it's going to start with some kind of market open. The inject node here is set to fire every 10 seconds. I'm going to make a comment here that we're calculating the z-score. Now, if you paid attention to Jerzy Pawlowski's lesson on how these technical indicators are calculated, you will there's a fair amount on the z-score calculation. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but this is how we create the z-score in a machine trader instance. This open market node looks to see if the market is open, and since it's after 4 o'clock, I'm going to assume it's going to tell me that the market is not open. So when I click this to the debugger, nothing happens. So the market, so nothing's being passed. You notice the return message is contained within the loop. So unless the market is open, nothing will happen. Now I happen to know that there is also another flag here, which is global get can equal extended hours. And since it's before 8 p.m. New York time, this should fire. Yes, it did. So yeah, we are in extended hours. I'm going to turn this off so we'll be able to see results. Now we need to get the current price, so we're going to need an alpaca last trade node. Just right here. The last trade node, the only thing that's required for the last trade node is a symbol, and it's in the form of message symbol. Again, we pass variables from one node to the next that are hardwired together with this message message dot syntax. And I'm going to use a paper account. It doesn't have to be paper, it could be live as well. We're just getting data essentially. Okay, now we need to output this. I'm going to bring my display prices JSON node here, and we'll turn this on so you see we're getting a current price. First time it runs, there's no previous price because it stores the current price as the previous price the first time it runs. Now, one of the issues you'll notice with doing this after the market closes is the prices don't change that much, if at all. So they tend to be pretty flat, particularly if you're using IEX data, which we are here. With Alpaca, you get two data choices: IEX, which is the free data version, which is not very useful in after-hours trading, and then the SIP data, which is all market trades, and that gives you a lot more information. So, but if you're thinking about trading extended hours, you're going to need a SIP data plan, which is going to cost you $99 a month, which isn't a bad price for that data. Exchanges charge a lot. Now, I've been running this throughout the day, so I already have a lot of this stored, so I don't really depend on the fact that we have these prices right now. So I'm going to import the remaining node, which is the calculate zScore node, and we'll connect that up here. Now, the zScore calculation, there's a lot of detail here. A lot of this is explained in Jersey's description of technical indicators, where he talks about how these things are calculated. He uses a lambda factor. There's a zScore threshold. You can see there's a zScore factor, which he calls zFact. The threshold is really the buy-sell indicator. If the threshold's above 1, it's considered overbought. You know, oftentimes it will be a signal of overbought. If it's under -1, it would be considered that it's oversold. So those are the various thresholds that are being bought. This is where the z-score is calculated. These lines, you have a various floors set. And then in these again, as in the other technical indicators, these lines, we want to scrub the price to make sure that we're getting valid data. As I say, there is data errors in the exchange data, and you don't want to incorporate in your flows a price that's wrong. You know, particularly if it's $1 more than what it really is. So that's what these lines do. If the data doesn't meet this quality control threshold, it's excluded. Else, it goes ahead and calculates the way you would expect. And after this runs, the last thing it does is it creates a SQL query here. I'll show you that's running. So you can see there's a SQL query being created right here. So this is going into a table called zScores, which we're going to look at. Last flow I'm going to add is the flow for web link downloads. This is what we used for RSI and for EMA. You can see it's already set for RSI. I'm just going to change this to zScore. Otherwise, we'll be looking at RSI. And this uses a generic table name, so we don't have to change anything else. So we open a new, let's copy this. Open a new tab. We want to put zScore. And you see we have a table here. So I've downloaded this. You notice that the prices started being recorded at 9:30 this morning. And I'm going to make a chart of the prices, as we did with the other technical indicators. And let's make that, give it its own tab, make it a little bigger. Okay, so this is today's price of NVIDIA. I'm going to change the width of this a little bit so it's not quite so fat. Take that down to about 1 point. And now I'm going to add the RSI scale, which we do by adding another series. So this is going to be called RSI, or rather not RSI, it's going to be called zScore. And this will be column E. Notice I get a line here at the bottom. We're going to make this a little bit smaller. I like to make it dotted. And then let's make this the secondary axis. Okay. So now we can see the price chart is in blue, as the price is moving around between 221 to 231 a share. And then the z-score is the right scale, and the z-score is vacillating between, well, it's -1 or so and +1. Now this is where the z-score threshold becomes important, because when you're trading, you set the trades to execute according to the z-score threshold. So when it, typically we set that at 1. In this case, nothing would have executed. If it goes above 1, it would be considered overbought, and a sell order would be entered. Or if it dropped below 1, that would be considered oversold, and a buy order would be entered. Now in this case, you can see we're not hitting these thresholds. So after looking at this chart, I would go back and I'd adjust my z-score thresholds to maybe 0.75 or so that what I'd like to do is it would be nice. This is a point. Oh, this is actually just slightly below 0. It would have been nice if we had been able to anticipate this rise up in price. But that would be difficult to do since it's probably only about minus 0.1 or so. In this section, it's saying it's sensing that the price is oversold, and there would be a good time to buy, and in fact the price does begin to come back. So this is the kind of analysis you want to do. This is only 417 moments. It's running every 10 seconds, so that's 6 times a minute. Let it run for the rest of the day. Let it run for a couple days. That's how you do your testing. Try to find the sweet spots, adjust the variables as needed, and that's how you optimize trading based on z-scores. So thanks for listening, and look forward to seeing you next time.